This isn't just a podcast, it's a reckoning, a calling, a return to what's real, to what's right, to what's yours. Because somewhere along the way, leadership became a game of sacrifice, success became a cage, and legacy, something you leave behind instead of something you live right now. The modern culture is here to change that. This is where old rules crumble and something truer, deeper, and far more powerful takes their place. Where leadership is about presence, where success is aligned, and where legacy lives in every moment you choose to lead differently. Co-hosted by Cari and Leah Rolling, this is the space where fire meets flow, where strategy bows to wisdom, and where disruption isn't feared, it's embraced. If you're ready to build without burnout, to create without compromise, to lead in a way that feels like you, welcome to the modern culture.
Hello, friends. Welcome to the modern culture. Today, we are stepping into one of the most transformative truths in business and in life. We have been working through the principles of the modern culture, and we are on principle 8 today. And again, I'm sure in all of the episodes before this, so if you haven't watched them, check them out. We have said that this one's our favorite, but I will say that just like with all of them, this has been profound for at least me this week, and that is the leader within. It is an awakening to who you are. It is awakening to who you've always been. It's a remembering, it's a forgetting, it's an unlearning, it's a relearning. It's a invitation back into your courage, back into your strength, back into your voice, back into allowing yourself to be the one that gives yourself permission to stand in who you are without the need to do it for anyone else. Because the most magnetic leaders, right? They don't wait to feel ready. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for somebody to tell them, oh, here, you can speak. They just speak and they show up. This principle, it's not another strategy, right? It's about remembering that you are the strategy, right? We've all read the books. We've built the plan. We've hired the coaches, but real leadership doesn't start on the outside. It begins at your core. And this is the moment that you invite yourself back in and you stop outsourcing your power and start leading from the wisdom that is already within you, that's already been within you. You've either been too distracted to see it, you've displaced your own knowing into somebody else's knowing, or you have forgotten and abandoned and ignored your brilliance. And that stops today. So, welcome to the show, Miss Cari.
Yeah, thanks, love. Thank you. This is a profound one. It's an amazing one. And this is one that's been kind of on our hearts and minds for, a long period of time, but really for a year. We have been passionate about this leader within and passionate about bringing people back home to themselves and back home to the brilliance of who they are. It is too easily forgotten. It's too easily swayed. And it's done by none other than ourselves, which I find profound and fascinating. So I'm excited to dive into this topic, and I'm excited to bring it forward to people. And my hope in all of these principles is that as we have these conversations, we're not looking at it as like this external visualization or this external awareness, or where it is that because this is kind of this tendency, this knee-jerk reaction of where it is that we can lay that circumstance, experience, person, right, because of type of thing, but where we can really come back home to, wow, I did that to myself. Right? I did that to myself, and take that radical ownership, because that is the only way that we do get to come back home. So that's, I'm I'm immensely excited for this conversation. I'm immensely excited for people to really be able to take stock of what it is that they've built, of where they've been, of where it is that they're going, and come back home to that passion, that deep, deep inner knowing that resides within. This has been a conversation with clients. It's been a conversation internally. It's been a lot just in those silent moments, that awakening that leader tries to really nudge, speak. So hopefully we can find the moments for that as well. So as we dive into this, Leah, why don't you talk us through just kind of what that leader within is to kick it off?
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned built, right? I think leader within is the foundation of I'll just call it unshakable leadership. If you build a foundation like within, no one, no person, no situation, no circumstance can knock you off, can knock you off and get you out of balance. And the invitation, when you do, you can easily come back into home. It's the practice of trusting yourself first, not last. It's not a skill that you learn, right? It's an identity that you reclaim, right? And we brought this forward in one of the first couple principles, that we do not believe that leaders are made. We believe that leaders are born, and somewhere in between birth and now, you have given away that right to other people and to circumstances and to situations. And if nothing else, this is an invitation to reclaim it for yourself. It's a belief that true leadership starts with who you are, not what you do. It's about knowing that you don't need necessarily to feel ready. A lot of times that is required. You don't need to earn confidence. You don't need to wait for a title or a strategy or someone else's validation, because again, as I mentioned earlier, that you are the strategy. So that is at the core, the message behind this principle and the invitation.
Yeah. And so when we compare it to, what is it not? When we look at, so we really look at this coming back home, this sitting within your own knowing. It's not strategy. It's not title. It's not proving. Really, it is coming back. Like, what do we get this confused? What is it not?
So I think it's often confused with confidence, right? Something that you build through evidence, through proof, like you said. Instead, it's about activating that confidence, that belief in self through self-trust before the results show up. Like, I don't need to wait for the results to have confidence. And so oftentimes we confuse that. We wait for the results to give us the confidence, right? In order to do something different, but it's the confidence that's required to get the results. And so a lot of times we have that backwards. It's not mindset hacks or external frameworks or achievements or accolades or validation, right? It is just understanding that you are the asset, right? And when you understand that you are the asset and you believe that you are the asset, you show up differently for your life. You invest in yourself in a different way. You take care of yourself in a different way because you have decided that you also too matter. So that's it. That's what it's often misunderstood with, and that is what it's not. So
Yeah, 100% agree with that. And when you look at that, what it's not the pendulum swing either. Because a lot of times what people will do is they will sit in this area of, finding that inner strength. And I've watched this happen in the past where, somebody will, I'm standing in my power, right? Feeling as though they're bringing kind of that confidence back home. I'm standing in my power. And then it tends to pendulum swing completely the other direction and almost becomes like, misinterpretation of boundaries or misinterpretation of like the expansiveness and the impact that you truly make. So it is, and this is where these principles become so layered in on one another, right? When we've worked through and we've got that compassion and we have that understanding, it allows us to be that leader without that pendulum swing. So I love that. So give us the science behind it, Leah.
You bet. So for all the science junkies out there, we've tried to integrate the neuroscience, the organizational science, the psychological science in all of the principles. So in a nutshell, the neuroscience around it is trusting yourself, belief in self without needing to do anything, with just trusting and claiming your birthright of worth, right? Activates the prefrontal cortex, right? And this, as we have mentioned in prior principles, it improves decision making, clarity, resilience. Without this, you don't have access to it, right? Without this, you're like a 2-year-old throwing a sippy cup around, right? So if you feel like you're in panic, or if you feel like you're in angst, if you feel like you're constantly battling the tantrum in your mind and in your spirit, you're most likely lacking in this principle. You're most likely dismissing the invitation of your worth, right? So that's the neuroscience. The psychology around it, it's just, it aligns with the internal empowerment for your own level of certainty, right? It's a belief. Like, I believe that confidence is not the belief in doing something, but it's the belief in figuring it out, right? It's the belief that you have influence on your outcomes, the belief that you are the creator of your experience, that you are the creator of your results. And again, with every single principle, we're trying to bring that home. Nobody dictates your results. Not at all. Every single experience that you experience is yours to own. Good or bad, it's yours to own. So that's the psychology around it. And then organizationally, I think though the leaders that understand this principle, they create a level of psychological safety for their teams, because it increases trust and innovation, because they're not throwing sippy cups at you. They're not blaming you for why it is that things didn't go the way that they thought it should. They take extreme ownership, so you don't have to try to bend and try to contort and try to fix and solve in order for you as a team member to find your place. Because you don't need to do that, because they have owned what is theirs to own. So it really does help align the teams, because you know that as long as you own your stuff, you're good, because everybody else on your team is going to own their stuff. And it's a much more safe, comfortable, fun, engaging, and inspiring place to work. So that's what I would say about the science. So
yeah, love
if
it.
we flip it then, Cari, what are the warning signs? Like, what shows up either within the person, right, navigating this, and or the culture, when someone has forgotten the brilliance that they are?
Yeah. You know, what's interesting is when you say, what's the warning signs? The first warning sign is that you don't see it. That's your first warning sign. That you don't see it, right? You don't see it. You're not aware of it, because you've become a curated version of yourself. You've done something, you've placed yourself in a position to be, and I had a conversation with a client yesterday about this, to be prove it driven as opposed to passion driven. And that hit hard when she said that. Just as she's navigating through experiences that she's having in her own organization, it dawned on her as this realization. Because when we step out of that inner knowing, when we step outside of our own genius, when we step outside of kind of the things that truly drive you, you stop having fun. That's one thing. You stop having fun. You're not finding joy. You find yourself working tirelessly all the time, feeling like you're just not quite getting there, right? There's just always something to be done.
Mhm.
And you start borrowing other people's alignment. You start borrowing other people's confidence. You really start borrowing other people's strategy because you've lost sight of your own.
Mhm.
You've lost sight of who you are. And it really kind of becomes this, it's just a filtered confidence. And it's not supportive.
Mhm.
It becomes sedative. It becomes something that where you feel like you're driving forward in passion, when you're proving it forward, you numb yourself out, you distract yourself, and you distract yourself in the busyness. And again, this is where I go, you're not going to see it.
Mhm.
You're not going to see it. You are eroding yourself in the name of relationship. And that's terribly unfortunate. How it ripples out and what you're going to see in what you're going to see around you, quite honestly, and what you're going to see in the culture is that people are asking for and longing for mentorship. They're asking for and longing for time. And I say that because some of the organizations I've recently had conversations with, again, we don't necessarily see what's sitting right in front of us. Those conversations have come forward. Like they need mentorship. They want, they want to learn from us. They're asking for time, and we don't have more time. One warning sign. We don't have more time. The other thing in that, and what I've told to them is that, you know what, when they're looking for mentorship, they're not looking for you to tell them how to do it. They're looking for you to show up and be it.
Mhm.
And until you understand that leadership model, until you can come back home to, again, that leader that sits within, until you can have the compassion for yourself, until you can have fun, until you can trust yourself, until you know your voice and you know the power of who you are, you understand your giftedness and you don't allow somebody else to take it away from you, until you understand that people are going to want something from you that you can't give because you're not being.
Mhm.
So that's what I would say the warning signs are.
Mm. So good. It's so good. And and so although we have been navigating this concept, this idea that it's more of a remembering to come back into the leader that we've always been
Mhm.
for years.
Yeah.
Why this year? Why this time? Why right now? Right? Why right now? Regardless of the year. Why today?
Why not today?
Yeah.
That's what I would say. Why not today? And I don't even look at it as a year standpoint.
Yeah. No, I
It's
didn't either. Yeah.
yeah, it's every single micro movement that you make. And every
Mhm.
single micro movement that you make, every single micro decision, every time you abandon yourself, every time you set forward to prove your value is just a moment that has left the rest of the world without you. That's what I
So
would say.
good.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it is time now more than ever because there's not a single freaking day, not a day that you want to sit and look back and go, I completely abandoned myself today.
Right.
I abandoned myself. And you don't want to have conversations with people where they tell you you abandoned yourself. Like, this is why we don't need polished people. We need real people.
Mm-hmm.
We need anchored people. We need people who are living in joy, who are leading from joy and not leading from the push and the pursuit and the hustle. Like that way of doing things has ended. And it's important because, quite honestly, the community, the organizations, the people around you deserve you. They deserve you. They deserve the leader that you are. They deserve to experience the fullness of you. Damn it, you deserve to experience the fullness of you. Forget everybody else. Like
Mm-hmm.
you deserve to be the fullest, blessed version of you that you can possibly be. There are way too many leaders leaving organizations right now. But they're also, I mean, I would almost equate to the amount of leaders that are leaving organizations equates to the same amount of leaders that abandon themselves on a daily basis. And that doesn't leave us with a whole hell of a lot.
No. No.
That's what I would say.
Oh, yeah. Right. It's the most power, lots of amazing things in there, but the most powerful nugget was that when we do that, when we abandon ourselves, we abandon others in that. And I think to your point, like it's mass critical for ourselves not to abandon ourselves, but we live in a culture that is so curated on showing up for others, right? That if if you struggle with what you might perceive as being selfish by showing up for you,
Mm.
what we would like to invite you to consider is you showing up for you is the benefit to others. Because otherwise, you're giving other people not the truest, fullest version of you. Because when you've abandoned yourself, you can't give to others in the way that you think or you have been taught or you've been culturally and societally conditioned to do. So,
Well, it's like a virus in and of itself, quite honestly. And the more you abandon the more you abandon yourself, the more you invite other people to abandon themselves, because you're needing something,
yep.
right? You're needing something. It's
Yep.
like I need to be fulfilled in some particular way because I'm not fully trusting myself. I've abandoned myself, and so then it becomes a requirement of somebody else.
That's right.
And that's unfortunate.
That's right. That's right.
Mm.
So when we think about a practice, if you will, because all of these principles,
Mhm.
they invite us into a practice. This isn't a perfect check the box, you're done,
Mhm.
right? This is a journey. This is a map of consciousness. This is a when you think about that, I'll share kind of an alignment practice that I swear by to help me start the day my way as opposed to starting the day with the frantic fury of what everybody else needs. I know there's so many leaders that they wake up and they immediately go to their phone, they immediately check their text, they immediately check their inbox, they immediately recognize the urgency of everybody else,
Mm.
right? And so, right from the very beginning of their day, they're immediately putting out fires from everybody else, and they haven't even lit their own.
Mhm.
They haven't even started the day that anchors them into their why, their reason for showing up. And so it's a practice. For me, it's a daily practice that I start every morning this way. And I know when I don't. Like when I'm on vacation or even on the weekends and I don't start it this way, there's just something off. But when I can align my day by doing my daily five, by sitting down and writing my goals and thinking through my priorities of the day and writing down the people that I want to connect with in that day and having an intention and journaling about my gratitudes, I anchor myself back in to an agreement and a commitment that it started with me. And then it doesn't feel like everybody else got a piece of me before I got a piece of me.
Mhm.
So what would you say that's a good practice for you to bring this leader within concept philosophy outside of just something that's a nice idea, but into something that can be conceptually practiced on a regular basis?
Silence.
Mm.
That's the one thing that I would say is silence. And it's the hardest thing to do, absolutely the hardest. If you do not allow it, open it to yourself, the world will do it for you. And sometimes that's not the way that we want that to come forward. So for me, it's very similar. One of the first things I do in the morning is to sit in silence, and I do a little bit of a meditation. But I think for others, just because I know meditation can be hard, especially for our type A high driven individuals, and sometimes silence can be really hard. A lot of times I just ask a question. Just ask a question. And if there was a question I was going to leave you with today to think over the course of the next week until we come back together again next week, my friends, it would be this two-part. Where have I outsourced my clarity? Where am I looking for somebody else to give me the roadmap? Where is it that I am looking for validation? That's part one. And then second to that, what part of me is still waiting for permission to return? And when we ask those questions, I never look for direct answers. I'm not trying to come up with or think through what that could be. I ask those questions with an open hand and I allow the response to come to me. It might come in a minute, it might come in a day, it might come in a dream. But I would say just be open to whatever way that wants to show up for you, because that leader is sitting within. She's just been clouded by the chaos and the noise and your need to prove. So that's what I would leave you all with this week. Friends, I thank you so much for being here and for navigating these principles with us. So until we get to come together next week for Principle 9, I hope it is absolutely amazing and enjoy your time.
Have a beautiful one, everybody. Take care.
You have been listening to The Modern Culture, co-hosted by Leah Rowling and Cari Kenzie. This is the space where fire meets flow, where strategy bows to wisdom, and where disruption isn't feared, it's embraced. Tune in every Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time on Transformation Network, because this isn't just a podcast. It's a reckoning, a calling, a return.